This is Hog Farmer Chris from the Hog Farmers Charitable Foundation. And before you start listening to Red Zone in the Lab, check out our Amazon Smile, a simple way to support the Hog Farmers Charitable Foundation every time you shop, and it's no cost to you.
We're back! Welcome back to Red Zone in the Lab with Deuce.
Welcome back. This is season 3 of Red Zone in the Lab podcast. We are going to be discussing entrepreneurship, education, Black history, health, movies, family, and of course, sports. Please follow, subscribe to our YouTube channel, our Twitter, and our Instagram and Facebook, and also website www.redzoneinlab.com. Welcome back. This is Red Zone in the Lab podcast. I am Dion Deuce Blackney, and today entering the lab, Kold Krush. Kold Krush, man. Kold Krush is a NFL Twitter analyst. I think Kold Krush is in the wrong business. I think he need to pivot some more into that field, but that's just my opinion. Kold, what's good, man?
Not much, man. Just excited. Appreciate to be on the show. Appreciate all the encouraging words, man, about, just getting out there and just, talking about, the game and the X's and O's. But I'm excited about this upcoming week. My boys versus your boys, so battle the beltway. So that's gonna be a good one.
Yeah, man. So how long have you been a Ravens fan? They got that stuff about, who were you before '96?
Yeah, I didn't jump on the bandwagon until '96. Before '96, I was a 49ers fan.
Okay.
Diehard 49ers fan, and I would say probably, before that, but I really didn't know any better. I'm like I said, I didn't know any better. My dad was really good friends with an Oakland Raider, and he was from Baltimore, and that was my dad's right hand man. So I used to watch the Raiders because I just loved them emblem. So then when I went to play football, when I played in Maryland, I actually played for the Mary E. Rodman Raiders, the Pop Warner team. Mm-hmm. So, I played for them. So I naturally just have a love for that logo, and the colors could be wearing the same colors. But I had to basically pick a team. So I ended up going with the 49ers because they had the players I enjoyed watching and what I wanted to model my game after. And I kind of just stuck with them until, the Ravens finally got their squad, and I was kind of teetering for a while. And then eventually I just kind of put it down and just only, focus all on the Ravens.
Yeah, man, that's cool, man. Talking about the Ravens so far, before we get into the present and the training camp, what was the biggest offseason move for you?
Well, the biggest one for me was Marcus Williams, man. I mean, typically they don't like to spend that type of money in free agency, but I've been calling that they was going to revamp that back in 2 years prior to this year. And when they did that, I said, okay, they ready to they're trying to do some things a little bit different in the front office, but I also understood that they had some cap room. So, but I didn't think they was going to pull off that deal. And EDC did an amazing job of structuring that deal. And they still have cap room left to do some other things. So that's exciting to see your team try to do some different things when it comes to adding more talent on the roster.
Yeah, speaking of the back end, what's Peters looking like? How's his recovery coming?
He returned back already, so he's practicing, so he's looking good. He's only doing individual drills as of right now, so we haven't seen anything. I'm pretty sure we won't see him until the season start. I doubt that he's a week 1 starter, but word out of camp is he looks good. He looks strong. He looks like he has confidence in, getting back out there, and he's eager to get back out there. So I haven't seen much outside of that, but I'm looking forward to seeing him back on the field.
Let's stay on the injury line. So Gus, he's on a PUP reserve. Right. So he's at least going to miss the first 4 weeks, same as Chase Young. But what about JK?
JK came off the PUP, I want to say about 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
So he's still doing individual drills. I haven't heard anything about him, practicing with the team. But he looks solid as well. Now, if you're trying to do percentages or something, he's probably a little stronger to be a week one start, especially if you're trying to think about what you want to do for your fantasy team. I don't know how heavy his load will be. It would probably be a very light load, but he's, as of right now, all signs pointing to it's a good possibility he can be a week one starter.
That's good, man. So the off season, one of the things I want you to kind of break down for us today, because for one, I want people to see your skills, and for two, I just want to have a more personal one-on-one with it. Is about the dynamics of the Ravens offense. Because we're talking about off-season move, and they didn't go after the big name wide receiver. They didn't really draft the big name wide receiver. But what is that offense? Because you have some fans from that fan base saying that you need a top receiver, and you are saying that you don't need a top receiver. What they have is what plays to Lamar's strength the most. Can you kind of break that down for us?
Yeah, I don't believe you need a top tier wide out to make that offense work. The main things you're going to need is, a pulling guard, a really good center, an athletic center, two running backs that are very dynamic, maybe a power back and another back that can run in between the tackles and out between the tackles. And then, add in a fullback and then two dominant tight ends, one that really is really good at being in line, close to the line of scrimmage that can do some solid route running and catch the ball and really excel between the hashes, even though the NFL hashes are not as close as the college hashes. Dominate the middle of the field and push the ball down the field. And then another tight end that can line out, not in line, to stretch the defense a little bit, because most defenses don't have 3 or 4 strong safeties or free safeties that are good enough in coverage to match up versus tight ends. So now you put a big strain on the defense, on the coverages and what they can do on, guarding or covering whatever wide receiver you have. And you're going to have a lot of mismatches on the back end side, as far as the back end X. You can use your tight end there. You can use your X receiver there. You can use your Z receiver there. And they have to have the right personnel. So if you have somebody that's really good at getting off a press, they got to have the right guy out there to cover him if you wanted to do something as a deep, a fly route, a comeback, a dig, a Ohio, or, they have to have the right personnel along with the other personnel on the team to cover the tight ends across the middle of the field. And are you going to keep your middle linebacker on the field? Or are you going to take them off the field? Because you also have to account for the run, and you have to account for additional person where it's a mobile quarterback, which normally you would try to use a spy or something. So it's all about the mismatches. I think you definitely can get the deep shots if you have, a talented wide receiver core. But you're really attacking the middle of the field, which is very hard to cover in the NFL because it's just so much space. And you got to have the right guys that can have the right range to do that. And not every team has that.
So let's talk about those guys to make that offense work. Let's start with the tight ends. Of course, you have a, top 3, top 4 tight end to most people, and Mark Andrews. And then you got this phenom that I hope he doesn't play Saturday because he really doesn't need to play, Isaiah Likely at the tight end spot. Talk about those two guys and how they can help, and which part of the tight end dynamic that you kind of explained that they'll play.
Yeah, Likely is a fun prospect to talk about. And, anyone that's doing any content creators always like to do the pun. So it's highly likely that he will play on this weekend. How much will he play? We just don't know. His first game, he had 4 receptions for 44 yards. He was a coach. Everything ran through him at Coastal Carolina. He was in line. He was tight. So he can play the X. He can run all the routes, and every check went through him at Coastal Carolina. His second he just came on and just showed what he's already doing through preseason and in camp, that he is that guy. As what the Raven Flock say, he's him. I mean, I think he had 8 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown before the second half. just imagine what that stat line would look like when Andrews is on the field.
Yep.
When Bateman is on the field, Devin Duvernay is on the field, James Prochet, if James Prochet is the 3, or Tylen Wallace, what would that look like on the field along with a J.K. Dobbins or a Mike Davis in the backfield, or Patrick McCart? It's going to be pick your poison at that moment in time. And his stat line may be even bigger than that, which sounds ludicrous to say that.
Yeah.
It's ludicrous to say that, because right now I think he's averaging about 12 yards a catch. I mean, if he turns that into 16, 17 yards a catch, and he's getting 13, 14 targets, and he's catching 11 of those, he's catching more than 50% of those numbers is going to jump through the roof. They're going to skyrocket. Yeah.
Man, for the fantasy, man. Recently when you do mocks, at least like the last couple weeks, he's usually gone by like 8, by like around 8, 9, and that's really surprising, especially people that don't really value the top 5 to 8 tight ends. They wait till the later rounds. He's usually one of the first ones to come off when you start that first wave of tight end, or that second wave of tight ends.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people still don't know where he is. And when it comes to fantasy, you kind of like, the Ravens offense is dynamic, but do I feel like risking my fantasy season on their players, because you really don't know who's going to get the ball. And Andrew's going to get his targets. Lamar Jackson is going to do his thing. And JK will get his thing. But even like picking a JK, like, is he going to get the goal line touches? Is that going to be Mike Davis or someone else? Because sometimes that's what they do. I mean, he's the workhorse, but he doesn't get the goal line touches. So it's just a really hard decision to make if you just don't really follow the team. So
I used to always wonder how players felt like that. Like the running backs that get the 20-20, but then when it gets down to red zone and goal line,
you're like, great job, champ. Come out.
I just always used to imagine how they feel about coming to the sidelines, man.
Like, you messing up my center check, B.
Red Zone in the lab. Be right back.
Hi, I'm Christian Miles, native Washingtonian and real estate agent servicing the Washington metropolitan area. I started my career as an investor and later transitioned to the residential side. I really wanted to leave the investor side because I wanted to connect with people. Building relationships is important to me. I understand the buying and selling process can be challenging. I get it. I've been there. I'm a mom, wife, friend, and neighbor. I absolutely love helping families and connecting with people. Going through the home buying and selling process is stressful enough. When working with me, I make it fun. As a realtor, I think it's important to be able to connect with you. Every detail is important, no matter how small. Let me take care of the heavy lifting while you focus on the joys of finding a new home. Something I live by, people may not remember what you said, but they will always remember how you made them feel. With me, it's an experience.
Welcome back to Red Zone in the lab with Deuce.
Mark Andrews. Let's talk about him a little bit.
Okay.
Where do you see him as far as with Waller, Kittle? Well, not so much, but people really, Kittle is kind of falling off from most people. Kelsey, where do you see him in that group of 4?
I see right now he's the bona fide 2.
Okay. We got Kelsey, then
him, then okay. Waller 3. Right now he's the bona fide. He's the clear cut 2. I think with more opportunities, then his role he can easily step into the number 1. I mean, last year he was definitely the number 1 tight end in the league, but still the census across the league, some people just think he's not the guy yet. But adding more weapons around Lamar will change that. And I'm thinking it's going to change for more of the positive instead of negative. Like, well, he's only doing this because he got more guys. But I think also having a better offensive line that's giving Lamar more time will benefit Andrews to get deeper shots and more opportunity to get yak after yard versus some of the balls that Lamar had to pass to him before. Not saying that they're bad, just I think he's going to have more deep shots like you see a Kelsey or something that gets the home run shots because of the improved offensive line.
Bateman. How much pressure, or is there any pressure on Rashad Bateman this year?
I think when you're a phenom like him, it is no pressure. Your light is going to shine no matter where you are. No one can dim you, and he's just a special kid. Like, when he first came in as a rookie, they did some stuff on Raven Media of him just matching up against Marlon. I was like, oh, we're going to find out if you that guy or not. And he beat him deep for a touchdown pass. Like one of the first few times they lined up, and Marlon was very physical with him, and he lost that battle. And he earned his respect. And it was like, okay, maybe he just got him one time. But they battle a lot. Sometimes, sometimes Hunt wins, sometimes Bateman win. And I think when you just carry yourself a certain way, it's just going to overflow into the game. And last year he was hurt. He had a groin injury. So, you didn't see the best version of him. Anybody, you're not going to see the best version of him when you have that type of injury. But he toughed it out and he played. But now I think since you're going to have a fully healthy him, he's past his rookie year. He didn't have a full rookie year, but he had more time to study the playbook. Him and Lamar and James Prochet put a lot of work together in the offseason. And you're going to see that instant chemistry the moment they step on the field in week 1.
All right, let's go to the defense. We're going to come back to the elephant, right? We're going to come back to the elephant.
It's the purple elephant.
We're going to come back to the elephant, but the defense, right? You all got one of the best projected safeties in the draft the last few years, and Kyle Hamilton. But it's not even looking like he's even going to crack the starting rotation. So that goes to show me that defense, once again, is going to be pretty stacked. Give us some players that's going to make big impacts, and how far do you think, or how can this be a top 3 defense? Just give us a little bit about the defense.
So, I think at some point Hamilton will be in the starting lineup. I'm probably on the other side of the fence that feel like at some point Chuck Clark will have a lesser role. I think he'll have a role, but also a part of me believe that he may not make it past the trade deadline. I think he's going to be gone. It's just too much depth and talent back there, and you can't manipulate the numbers enough to make sure that everyone's fits. Brandon Stevens is a guy that I will keep my eyes on. Converted free safety that also plays nickel corner. They used him a little bit at free safety last year. This year they're going to use him more dominant in the corner. I believe he's going to have an awesome year. Geno Stone is trending as another young guy that they have that's having another phenomenal preseason. And I just think he just needs more opportunities.
I know we're going to see him a lot Saturday.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of Geno. And that's the reason why I think that Chuck is near the end of the rope for him, or near the end of the line for him, because of Geno. He's like 7 years younger, and the money's less. And you still have Marcus Williams, and you still got Kyle Hamilton. So, you can make some adjustments if need be. Pepe Williams is another intriguing prospect that has just been wowing the coaching staff. He's seen like he just always where the ball is supposed to be. So, if we're talking only about the DB room, I will focus on those guys. The rest of the players, everyone knows about Kyle Fuller. Everyone knows about Peters. Everyone knows about Hump. But those, between Marcus, Cal, Brandon Stevens, and Gino is the ones that I would really keep my eyes on, and Pepe. Um, um, and Jalen Armour Davis is another one, but the list is just getting longer and longer the more people I mentioned. So
Yeah, because y'all deep, man. Like the depth is crazy over there.
Yeah, especially in the secondary room.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's crazy how many. Yeah, man, y'all got to make some moves. I mean, it's crazy. Like y'all cut down. I mean, it's gonna be wild.
It's no way you can keep 5 DBs and 6 safeties. It's just not possible. You can't keep that many people.
Especially like those guys. Those are like starters and second string type guys. Like even it's crazy. Like yeah, they on the depth chart 3 and 4, but they can easily be 2 and 3.
Right. I mean, another guy is probably outside looking in that had played very well last year is Washington. He may not even make the 53 this year because they just have so much talent there that he may be expendable, and he played well. But it's just too much depth there. And we didn't even talk about the front 7. Travis Jones is going to have to be in the rotation. So it's a lot of guys. Even my guy that no one's really talking about, the UFA guy from Michigan, Josh Ross from Michigan, played for McDonald last year in his system, also played under Don Brown. A lot of people didn't think that because he's undersized that it was going to translate into the NFL, but his last preseason game, he balled. And no one really took a leap as claiming that position. If he has another big game versus you guys, I definitely believe he's going to make his way onto the roster. And now we're talking more depth. Josh Bonds might be on the way up out of Baltimore.
And that's crazy.
And that's crazy, right? So, and even though he's young and he doesn't have experiences, but he knows the defense, and Josh Bonds has to learn the defense, and he's younger. And he complements Queen. He tackles well. And he also does covers. He cover well. So not even get into the stats on him because I'm kind of hold off on him because I think we're going to talk about like 6 players we need to watch out on the bubble. And when I tell you his numbers in preseason, you're going to probably be blown away.
That's crazy. So where you see this defense at the end of the year? Can they crack the top 3? Or
I think they can crack the top 5 as long as they play well. They can escape the injury bug. I definitely see them as a top 5 defense. I think they'll definitely go back to the old, mantra of being number 1 stopping run defense. But I just want to see how well they be in the pass, in pass coverage. Because, on the books is there, but putting it on the field is something else. Can they gel together and do it? I personally don't want them to be like a defense that don't give up a lot of passing yards but don't get any turnovers. I want them to be, maybe top 10 in both categories.
Man, that's going to be crazy, man. Like, when it comes to the AFC North, the AFC West has overtaken the media, right? They are overwhelmingly overtaking the media, and so has Josh Allen. But when it comes to and the Bengals, but when it comes to the Raiders, for some reason, a lot of people don't have you all as being like 1, 2, 3. Like, why do you think that is? Because of the season from last year, or the elephant in the room, which we're about to talk about?
People think that Roman is not that guy.
Yeah, I'm one of them.
they think that Roman is not the guy.
I'm one of
them.
They
feel like Roman is holding back Lamar to being the tallest tree in the jungle. And it's also a narrative he can't get it done because of his past concepts, and he can't get it done because we don't have a 1, 2, and 3. We don't have a trifecta when it comes to the wide receiver room. And depends on how you evaluate talent.
Yeah.
I can see how you look at that. But when I looked at his numbers and I saw 2019, number 1 in passing touchdowns, I'll take that over number 1 passing yards. So they was ranked like 27 to 28 in the passing yards, but they was number 1 in passing TDs. The year after that, they were still low in passing yards. I think they was like, somewhere in the 20s, because I don't have it in front of me. But then they was 13th in passing touchdowns again. So like all this while still being number one in rush. So
That's crazy, yeah.
With no wide receivers, as everyone says, no wide receivers, and not a good offensive line after 2020 or 2019, and then an even worse offensive line the year after that, and they still was like somewhere in the top 20 or something like that in passing TDs, but they were still really high in rushing yards, but that's what 28 people hurt. Yeah. So I mean, all of it's not
Last
offense.
Year was wild.
So
yeah.
I don't know what you're looking at as an offensive coordinator, but maybe you don't like the situational play calling. Okay, I can get on board with that. But the other categories where he does well, he just got to get his guys, and once he gets some better guys there, you're gonna see a better result. And it starts with the offensive line, because the offensive line ain't that great.
Let's talk about Lamar Jackson. I think there are a lot of misconceptions about what's going on with his contract. It seems like Lamar keeps everything close to the vest, so I think people is just guessing and just trying to, find something to be able to talk about when it comes to his contract. But what do you think it is, and is Lamar going to play come week 1?
I believe he's going to play week 1, and I also believe the deal is going to break by week 1.
Okay. What do you think it's going to look like?
I don't think Lamar is going to break the bank like people think he wants to break the bank, because he's an intelligent man and he understands if he breaks the bank, he can't get anybody else to help him. So I think Kyler Murray got 180 guaranteed. I think Lamar comes in around 200, maybe 190. On the high end, maybe 210 guaranteed, with a lot of incentives that he's going to basically destroy.
Some easy ones, like the Debo deal.
Yeah, it's going to be some easy ones where he's going to destroy them. And I think that he's so determined to prove people that he can pass from the pocket. It's going to be some passing incentives in there for him, some milestones in that, and he's just going to meet the mark. So I think total overall, the deal might be slightly more, but the guaranteed money is not going to be as much. I think on the high end, I'm putting 210.
You think the years is going to match so it can be a fully guaranteed deal, or do you think it's going to be it's not going to be fully guaranteed with maybe like 80-85%?
It could be. I mean, it all depends on Steve Machadi and what he wants to do. And I think everyone in that organization loves Lamar, and he has a pulse on the city. And they know how much he means to the city. So I definitely can see them doing it. If it's advantageous for the salary cap for them to do it that way, I definitely can see the Ravens doing it. I know they're going to be close to like another, I think over 100-something million for next year in cap space. So I definitely can see them doing it. And it may be a shorter deal, just so it's more cap friendly. Instead of being a 5-year extension, it may be like 4. Because I know Lamar said he'd rather be a 2nd-round pick than a 1st-round pick, because he feel like he can go back in free agency and get more money versus having that. So they might compromise on that. Instead of making it a longer deal, make it a little bit shorter so he can go back on the market again and he can get some more money. But we'll see.
Red Zone in the lab. Be right back.
There's a lot of bad stigma about shopping for a used car. Well, come visit us at iCargo Motors. We'll take care of you. We'll ensure that your experience is not only seamless and efficient, but also satisfying. Because at iCargo Motors, we believe that the best form of currency is integrity.
Welcome back to Red Zone in the lab with Deuce.
Are you all looking to play your starters last year? Obviously, you played your starters against us last year, and a lot of you are upset with our with our players from last year. Are you all look? What is Harbor? I know. Rivera said it's going to be very limited, and he said it's going to be limited and it's going to be very limited. The very makes me believe that they may just suit up and just stay, in that type of mindset and preparation. But I don't think they're going to be out there. What has Harbaugh said so far about putting the starters out there?
I'll tell you one thing, they're gonna go out there and try to win. Because
that record on the line.
That record on the line, and no matter, and he's instilling that in them that we're gonna go win. So I don't know how much of the starters you're gonna see. You probably see a lot of Devin if he's healthy, because he had, some minor injuries. I don't know how much of Bateman you're gonna see. I'm pretty sure you're gonna see the center. You might see the starting offensive line, starting defense out there, but some of the other skill positions you may not see starters. And I don't think you need to see them, because they have so much depth at wide receiver. They got to make a decision, and having those starters out there is hurting those young guys on the opportunity to make the practice squad or the 53. So they don't need to be on the field, especially like the wide receiver room, the DB room. The front seven, I think, is already locked up. The safety room, you'll probably see a lot more Kyle this game, like you did the last game.
Oh, I hope he don't go off, because I'm gonna have to hear that all next week.
He might go. I mean, he been like a
off,
little bee. He been everywhere.
I'm gonna have to hear that all next week, man. So yeah, give us some players other than the starters to kind of look out for during this game on the offensive side of the ball, skill position, and then some guys on the defense outside of Kyle Hamilton, of course.
So you want some rising stars, as we can say?
That's gonna kind of play a lot to kind of look out for.
I would say keep an eye out on Shamar Bridges. With the Ravens' top three receivers out, Tylan Wallace had a knee sprain, so he's basically not going to be able to play. But I think he is back. So I don't know if he practiced this week. So it's a possibility that Tylan can play, but I will keep my eye out on Bridges, undrafted D2 school, Fort Valley State, 6'4". He had a really big grab week before last. He just went up and did a sluggo and just put this DB in a blender. And then he had another catch, a 38-yard contested catch on the sideline for another catch. So he had 4 catches for 62 yards. So I think he is a strong candidate to make the wide receiver room. A lot of Ravens are very excited for him. They think he's going to make it. Mm-hmm. Another guy I would say is my guy Josh Ross, man. Like, he just has. The Baltimore has a knack for finding undrafted free agent linebackers.
We don't.
And they turn them into stars, right? So they had Bart Scott, they had Jamel LeClain, they had Zachary Orr, they had Patrick Owasa. I always say his name wrong. And the benefit of this young kid is that he played under McDonald in the Michigan Wolverines defense. Okay. He knows the defense. He has some knocks on him, though. So he's only 6 foot, 227. He's undersized. Ravens had some undersized linebackers before. Ray Lewis is one of them. But he's not very athletic, right? So this is some of the things that they talked about him when he first came in. Like, his athletic score was only a 1.72. But he was still productive in college. And I think that you got to give that credit to before McDonald got there, just for the privilege of being able to play with football minds like Don Brown, because that was Don Brown's defense before McDonald got there. So you add that into it. But one thing that you can't teach at middle linebacker is just instinct and not hesitating. He does that better than anyone. Like, when he thinks it's a run or something, he's just going to go. Like, either he's going to be all right or he's going to be all wrong, but he's normally more right than wrong, which is why his run defense and pass rush grades are very solid, but he just lacks athleticism, to just do to other things. And sometimes he over anticipates or bites too hard on play action. So that kind of puts him in a bind sometimes. So he had 2 seasons in Michigan where he missed like over 14% of his tackles. This is like all the negative about him. And so you're just like, well, if you messing up like that in the college level, you're just not going to get it done. But he puts the work in. But the two-sided coin to that is he hasn't been missing tackles with his opportunities since he's been playing with the Ravens. And no one has really put a stamp on that position. So check this out. So far, all signs point that Ross has a strong shot at making it. He had the highest grade at a 93.0 among all defensive players with a minimum of 20 snaps in the preseason, according to Pro Football Focus.
That's crazy.
That's crazy, right?
Our guys is like, our starters is like 30, 40 probably.
So if you're doing that and you got the biggest numbers, like the light went on somewhere. And that's one of the biggest reasons why he has elite overall grade in pass coverage, which is his weakest attribute versus run. His weakest is the pass, and he still came in at 91.5. So it's really no surprise that, McDonald cited Ross as being his coverage as being an area where he needed to prove the most. And it was an article out that McDonald quote, he said, I would say his coverage ability, his reactions are faster. Rather than just being in the middle and playing the middle, playing from the Mike position, McDonald said. So rarely all aspects of his game, but there's growth in all the way around. This is from his former coach. He also said he praises how Ross approaches the game and what Ross meant to him at Michigan last year. So he's a leader. He
got it in between the ears.
He got it between the ears. He said, another quote, Ross is just mature, serious, but in the right way, thoughtful, very energetic, attacks everything. That's how he goes about it, McDonald said. Really, he is one of my favorite players at Michigan I ever coached on day one. No bias. So he deserves a lot of credit for the position he's putting himself in. So I was like, that is high praise from your coach. Very, very high praise from your coach. And then he goes on and says, the most important of McDonald defenses has been discussed heavily in the offseason with the buzzword versatility. So he's kind of like John Harbaugh. He wants people that can play multiple positions, but play them better than average.
Yeah.
So McDonald put out another quote and said, well, he's playing both positions, which is harder than most people might imagine, McDonald said. Mike will dime. All of those things. He was just playing the Mike spot last year. So not only he's playing 2 positions he's never played before, and he's improved on his coverage ability and his tackling, he's doing well in all categories.
Yeah.
So
the Mike and Will is not really interchangeable in the common sense of football. So if you can do that, then that's yeah.
If you can do that, that's
huge. Yeah.
That's huge, man.
Yeah.
Another outside linebacker is, former Atlanta Falcons Steven Means. He's back on the team. He was originally a Raven once before. And he just got, a shot at redemption, I would call it. Vince went down with Achilles on August the 4th, and it's wide open for him. He basically writes his own destiny. Tyrus Bauer is still out. David Ojabo is still sidelined. So they need a 4th middle outside linebacker, and he's been playing well. You still got Justin Hill and you still got Dalen Hayes, but they both had kind of quiet camps. So Means is another guy that is a rising star, or, he's not a new guy, but he's getting a second chance at, extending his career.
Do you think they even play Huntley? Does he need to play in the preseason?
No, he
I don't
doesn't
think
need
so,
to
yeah.
play, but I
Harbaugh
mean,
wants to win, so he's definitely gonna play.
he's gonna play at least one quarter, if
Who's the third
that.
string quarterback?
Anthony Brown from Oregon.
Okay, how's he doing this?
He's been playing good. He's been playing good. His accuracy has been getting better. His completion he's been playing solid. Still a lot he has to learn and do a little bit better. But playing with the third string guys, I mean, I think he was originally the fourth guy on the depth chart, and he beat out the quarterback, and I can never remember his name. Because it's not Huntley. It's very similar. But don't think we're not carrying 3 quarterbacks, so he'll definitely be a practice squad guy. But it's good to see that he was doing good. I'm kind of disappointed his fellow teammate Devin Williams didn't do well. He ended up getting cut in the first set of cuts, but Brown's playing well. So that's good to have 3 black quarterbacks on your team and they're all doing well. So that's
usually the thing. Like y'all had that up for a while. 3 black quarterbacks. I know Jacksonville did it one time, but that was because if they had a white quarterback, they'd have been calling for Leftwich head if he was messed up. So down in Jacksonville, you had to have 3 black quarterbacks where they had like David Garrard and I forgot the other guy's name when they had all 3 black quarterbacks. But man, Kold, I appreciate you, man. Thanks, man.
Man.
Let's let the people know your Twitter handle. Let them know when the content is going to drop. Hopefully it's within the next month. Hopefully. So I'm putting you on the spot.
I don't know if it's going to be in the next month, but I hope that.
How about this? How about this? When is the last cuts? Tuesday?
Yeah, I need to. My plan was to put out the 53 this week. But I didn't know if it was going to be good enough for me to publish it. But I did plan on trying at least. That was on my to-do list to get done. I want to get the 53 done.
That's exactly what I was going to talk about. I think that's something you can do. And I'm putting
we
it
didn't
right
talk
here.
about the bubble guys, man.
I'm putting it right here, huh?
We didn't.
This is what I'm kind of talking about before the 53 to add the bubble guys. And what I want to do is want to offer you my platform to do that.
Okay, well, we can do that. We can do the 53
to do that. So you let me know when you want to do it, and you can do the show however you want. You can do it by yourself. I make sure.
No, you can come on. It'll be fun. You can come on. Because
I ain't gonna do that. Because I just want you to do the 53 for the Ravens. I want you to see how it feels.
Okay.
How about that? I want you to see how it feels. Because I'm serious, man. This is live. I really want you to like we talked about the other day. Sometimes you can't sleep, man. Like you gotta sacrifice. Sleep.
Well, you see, I put my notes together, man. I ain't come unprepared.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, man. Like this thing, man. If you really want to do it, man, you gotta put that. You gotta sacrifice because you can't sacrifice family, right? You can't sacrifice your job. You gotta sacrifice stuff you want to do.
Right.
Man, I can't even play Madden. I don't know when the last time I played my PlayStation. That's one of the things I have to sacrifice if I really want to do that. But let the people know, man, how they can follow you on Twitter and wherever else you are.
Mainly Twitter, man. So it's Kold Krush with K's, KOLD_Krush, KRUSH. That's probably the only place I really talk sports is on Twitter. But if you want to follow me on Clubhouse, it's the same handle. The only difference, I talk a little bit more real estate and more real life stuff on there. I don't really talk sports. But you want to follow me on the sports, it'll be that's the handle, Twitter.
Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you for coming on Real Talk.
Man.
I really enjoyed this. I really, really enjoyed this, man. I thank all of you for watching. I thank all of you for listening to Red Zone and Lab podcast. This is Dion Deuce Blackney. One beat, one sound, one heart, one love.
Thank you for listening to Red Zone in the Lab podcast. Please follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Red Zone in the Lab. And you can download our podcast at Spotify, iTunes, and Podbean. And please visit our website at redzoneinthelab.com. Thank you.